Oh, here it comes.
There's a whole file.
Yeah, I got it. Okay. No.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. It is 6 o'clock. And if you don't know where you are at the February meeting of the Celebration Residential Owners Association. It's the 22nd, and it is just now 6 o'clock. We have a packed house today, and we've got quite a few people online. So let's get started, because we do like to try to stay within a 2-hour time frame. So, Lori, was the meeting properly noticed?
It was.
And we do have a quorum.
You do, David's online? Okay.
And I understand that Celia, she's not online yet. She will be here maybe about 6.
She's online, she just doesn't have her camera on.
Okay. So, okay. Okay, so we do have a quorum. Shall we stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, I'm going to play around with the agenda a little bit. What I want to do is, I want to move after the agenda. I actually have something to say, and then we'll go to owners' comments, if that's okay with everybody. And then pretty much in order after that, except, hopefully,
Okay, I got it up here.
B3.
Hold on a second until.
Sure. Oh, I'm sorry.
Can we mute that person? Thanks. You're on it.
You think I can't talk louder than that?
I know you can, but I want everyone to hear.
Oh, so is this on? Yeah. Okay. So I would like to move B3 to the end of the action items that we want to discuss today, because I have a feeling that's going to take the most time.
So we're moving it from the consent agenda to the action required, correct?
Well, no, it's not on the consent agenda. It's B3.
Oh, under action.
Yeah.
To description.
But we're going to move
To
it.
discussion.
Yep.
Okay.
To right before the fee waivers, I think.
Okay.
If that works, because that's probably going to take the most time. And that way we won't get bogged down. I want to move. Sorry. I want to move B6, which is the Universal Committee Resolution. I want to talk about that before we do B4, which are the individual committee task force resolutions. That makes sense. Okay. So we're going to put the universal there. And I think that's it. So did everybody follow? So,
Consent agenda? No?
no, keep it on it. Okay. So we're going to adopt the agenda. We need to repeat. Did you get it, Lauren? You got it? So call the meeting to order, which we do right now. And I move stuff on the agenda. Will somebody take that motion along with? Thank you, Bill. All in favor? So,
Aye.
Aye.
thank you. Okay, so. Yeah, me first. Okay, so. A lot of times they put me on the agenda and I have nothing to say. I told them this week, I don't have anything to say. Well, now I have something to say. And I want to say it in advance of the owner comments in case I answer anybody's question. Realizing that you still may have questions later on, but just to out there, so, you know. So I spent the better part of this afternoon trolling Facebook and answering emails about pickleball. So I made a list of everything that I saw that people were questioning or upset about or wanted to know more about, and I put down the answer because I figure that's why a lot of you are here. So I started at the top of one of the threads and just went down. So first of all, somebody said we are spending $2 million on pickleball courts. That is not true. If you look at the grid that was in the packet, that was the original bid came in that high, but now we've got it down to $918,000, which is 8 courts. It's grading that whole area there to make it nice and flat because it's like this and there's trees on it, so people can park there during events and not have to park around trees and all that kind of stuff. And also to do a draining thing so the property will drain as well as it can. Okay, so it's not 2 million, it's 918,000. Okay, so a lot of money, and that's where we've got it down to so far. Next, we had, depending on where you look, either a $600,000 or a $700,000 budget deficit last year. Okay, it's only 444,000, but Jennifer, our accountant, is going to speak to that later. But 90% of overage was because we had I don't know what you want to call it, a program last year called Go Fast and Fix It. So when Grand Manners came in, they found all the things that had been neglected over the years, things that were broken, and they went and followed their marching orders and just went forth and fixed it, whether or not it was in the budget. Okay, so that's where the majority of that comes from, but you will hear more about it. And we couldn't budget for that because we didn't know about it until Grand Manners came and started looking around and saying, hey, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, and so on. Okay. That we are trying to push this through before the new board is seated. That is absolutely not true. In fact, it's quite the contrary. The only thing we're voting on tonight is to name the apparent successful vendor. And all that means is that we're going to now start negotiating with terms, going through contract conditions with this particular vendor. We're going to go through some more and see if there's something else that can be cut that will not be more fluff stuff than anything, nothing, important. And, we're not signing anything. None of that. And we're not spending any money. We're not spending any money today. We're not signing anything today. All we're saying is, go ahead and call, tell is it Polly or Polly? Polly. That business with them and then get the ball rolling. So that's the next thing. Somebody posted, pickleball courts can cost up to $50,000 per court. Why are we spending too much? We have 8 courts. So 50 times 8 is 400,000. We're not just building 1 court, we're building 8. And that also includes the 518,000 that we have on that grid, spend there. Also, it includes some fencing, wind screens, some additional site prep for appropriate fill and conduit to ensure lights can be placed later, because that's how we brought that original high price down. We thought we don't have to have lights right now. We can do that at some point later after you figure out what the one building is going to cost. Excuse me. Just so you know, we've already spent within the last 3 years over $120,000 on this project with engineers and things like that. So, you know, to kind of stop now, that money would be down the toilet, basically. So that's that. Somebody made a comment like, you know, things are falling apart and we don't know where we're getting the money from and blah, blah, blah. So I've already explained that the reason we went so far over budget last year was we were going about fixing things. The only things that we have yet to fix that are not part of this year's budget are the lights over here at the field, like where the K-8 school is. That's about $6,000 or $7,000. And then the lights at the fields, the sports fields over there, that's $2,000. So that's the only thing that wasn't really budgeted. We did have some issues come up that are going to be a little bit more expensive, quite a bit more expensive, but again, it's just something that popped up that we had no way of foreseeing. One of them is has to do with the amenity center, because it's going to be opening sooner than we expected, and we have to have staff there because there are that many people. I mean, there's people living there, but there's not enough people living there to make sure that the building is protected. So we're going to have to put some staff in there, you know, just to make sure that everything stays beautiful the way it is today. So that. What else? Oh, this one too. It's going to cost between $2 and $2.5 million to repair the 851 building. I have no idea where that number came from. It is not true. We have no idea how much it's going to cost yet. We're waiting for a quote, and within this, we're voting on something today that's with the
Reconstruction experts.
reconstruction experts. So they're going to come back to us with several options. You know, one would be just to repair the walls that they've covered up so nicely. But along with that comes carpeting. You have to replace the carpeting because that's away from the wall. Another one would be, say we wanted to repair that, but as long as we're doing that much, maybe we want to reconfigure the inside of the building. Maybe. How much would that cost? That would give us more meeting rooms, get rid of all this wasted space, if you want to call it that, in the center here, and make usable space for classrooms or meeting rooms or whatever. But they're going to give us several options that we can look at and then decide where we're going to go from there. That money is not going to come out of operating necessarily. It'll come out of either capital expenditures, depending on what it is, or it may come out of reserves, like perhaps the carpeting, because the carpeting is probably due to be replaced because it looks like it's due to be replaced. But, you know, we have schedules for that, so some of the money can come there. So we're not going to deplete all the money we have. Almost the last one. There's $300,000 of drainage repairs that need to be made at the athletic fields. Okay, that's a yes and no. Apparently, and I wasn't on the board, so I take no responsibility for this. It was decided that they wouldn't do, you know, maybe they got 3 recommendations from the engineer. 1, 2, 3. You could do this, you could do this, do this. Maybe they chose the cheapest one. I don't know. But after they started playing on the fields, we saw that we do have a problem with the drainage. So shortly after I came on the board, we got an engineer to come out and look at it. And they said, yeah, you know, you can fix it. It's going to cost. And I asked Brian Kinsel if he could remember, and he couldn't quite remember, but it wasn't quite $300,000, but it was a lot of money. And they told us straight up, you know, we can do this. It may help somewhat, but it's not going to solve the problem. So we decided that we just live with mushy fields until, you know, maybe at some point we want to take one of the grass fields away, work with 2 fields, put something else there, you know, rework that whole area, but that's not a short-term thing. That's somewhere how much money we have at the end of January. But like I said, somewhere how much money we have at the end of January, but like I said, Jennifer's going to tell you that. But I guess the point in me saying this is most of, not all, that's being publicized on the porches is not true at all, or even close. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Maybe hopefully I've answered some of your questions, that are there. The other thing that I would like to do, because I bet you any money it was, most of you know that I worked here for CCMC years ago. So I want to say that pickleball first came up maybe at least 12 years ago when we first started talking about pickleball. And so this is not something new. This is something that continues to grow from what I see on TV. They're always talking about, I find it odd. Memes are popping up on Facebook about naked pickleball and all that kind of stuff. So, it's really out there, and people are still building pickleball courts, so we're probably, not at, we're kind of like under the curve, probably.
Did you say naked pickleball?
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, we're not
No,
considering that.
okay, good.
Well, I don't know. I don't belong to the pickleball club, so I don't know what they're considering.
Good point.
But it's not going to be me. But anyway, so, and the community needs a new amenity. When's the last, other than the soccer fields, when's the last time anybody can remember anything new coming on? I think maybe the town court at Lakeside, when we redid the tennis courts there years ago, I think maybe they added that. That's not, wait, yeah, there's Bocce and Artisan at the town over there. But we need something else to attract people to our community. If everybody else has one, then, we should, and not lose those prospective new neighbors. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there again, because I feel that probably a lot of you had those questions. If you do have questions like that, go to the horse's mouth, send the board an email. We'll be happy to answer. In fact, that's what I was doing the other half of the day today, was answering emails to people, explaining what we were doing tonight, and kind of calming, ruffling feathers. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to homeowner comments. Go down the list. If you don't mind, folks in the audience on the screen there, we're going to go through the people in here. Jared Weiss. Do you still want to say something? Yes. All right. State your address, please, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Jared Wise. I live at 405 Irish Street. I want to disclose that I'm running for CROA Board of Directors. And while my statements here are an example of how I would serve our community, I am speaking as a resident of Celebration. My comments here aren't about pickleball. They're about financial responsibility. I want to urge the Board of Directors to table item B3 for the following reasons. The competitive bids are not provided for review, so it's unclear based on the documentation in this board packet what the undertaking would be for the proposal. In fact, we can't even tell if Polly's bid is indeed the least expensive, as the proposal information is not available in the board packet to review and compare numbers. Historically, all board packets have included vendor proposals, including this month for all the other consent agenda items. Yet somehow this one is dramatically lacking in detail and clarity of scope. Number 2, the bids were only received by CROA this past Friday, so there hasn't been proper time to review them. The fact that this item is even appearing on the agenda after you yourself haven't had less than a week to digest it is irresponsible. Number 3, I think everyone here would like to know who wrote the 2-page synopsis. It is not an unbiased opinion. A professional prepared report would include both pros and cons of the project, evaluating a variety of eventualities. Instead, it's simply a repetitive essay of reaching reasons that the project should be fast-tracked. There's a serious lack of standard construction practices in how this project is developing, and that needs to be resolved prior to proceeding. Number 4, this month's board packet includes 15 pages on a Founders Day laser show worth $13,000. That's 3 times the documentation for a project 153 times smaller. That shows there have been no due diligence on the part of this board. Finally, and most importantly, reason number 5 is that section 3.17 of the CROA bylaws, paragraph U, states that all capital projects with a cost of $250,000 or more shall result in a board presentation to the community discussing contingency for cost overruns, reserve impacts, and future operating costs. It's unfortunate that I have to read this to you in a forum like this, but here we are. And none of these requirements are included. So proceeding with this vote is an absolute violation of the community bylaws. With all that said, I recommend the board table action item B3 to allow more time for a professional and proper review of the details of this massive expenditure. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Again, we're not spending any money tonight. But Sue talking is one more thing that I wanted to say. I've already asked Lauren to contact Cahill. They're the people who have put this together for us, to see what their availability is the first week of March, beginning the 6th or whatever. And I want to have a count so we can start at the very beginning, with how we came to have this land, why we have this land, why it costs so much to prep this land. Basically because it's junk. It's swamp. So it's going to cost, tens of thousands of dollars just to make it anything on. So maybe, and then we're going to record it because this has been going on for years. Record it. If you can't make the meeting, then you can go on and watch it, and you can see start to end all the steps that we've been taking over the last however many years to get to this point. So, but thank you, Jared. We appreciate it. Okay, who's next? Great. Come on down.
I waive my right.
You waive your right. Nice seeing you, and in the front row too. Next, Jill Furlong. Jill, here she comes.
Hi there, my name is Jill Furlong. I live at 907 Spring Park Loop. My comment's not actually about pickleball. So
Then you have to sit down.
Sorry.
No.
My comment is about the committee resolutions. I am the current chairperson of the Dog Park Committee, and we see the resolution. It says the Dog Park Committee is planning to cease functioning as a standalone committee. We aren't. That's not us. The board is planning to cease our operation, but we feel that we still have a lot of value to add to the dog park community at large and just the dogs in celebration. So we would like to request that you discuss this further with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Gary Hudspeth.
I'll pass.
You're gonna pass. All right, Gary. Usually I can see you. He's hiding. Oh, there you are. Say your hand. Hi, Gary. Okay. Mark Falcone. Did I say that correctly? I'm sorry. Again?
Falcone.
Falcone.
Good to meet you all. I think you all seen me here once or twice before. I'm in the Spring Lake division, and I wanted to bring up the landscaping. I'm not sure if anyone's been aware or overseen what's been going on there, but replacing the lawn. It's been a complete travesty. The people coming in don't prep the area. They cut the lawn. Instead of rolling big rolls of grass, they cut up little squares. They throw it down. If you go down Ponce and look around, you'll see the new grass about this much taller than the rest of the grass that's dying. I don't know if the water's been turned off at Ponce, but the landscape is just looking horrible. I don't know if anyone's overseen what's going on, but I certainly should not have to bring this up. And then the other thing is the landscaping in front of our homes. We were told that in the Western View, which is where I am, that was going to be redone probably 6-8 months ago. Our plants are dying. It's getting to the point where we probably have to buy our own. Our neighbor's been buying own plants because his had died, and there's just nothing being done. His lawn's been replaced 4 or 5 times, so probably in the last 6 months or less. I don't think there's any prepping for proper drainage. So with that lawn that's going all over the place, if it's not proper, I could be having water coming into my foundation. So I think the landscaping company, if there's a committee or something, need to evaluate them, make sure things are done correctly. That's what I have to say.
Hey, are you on there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You see, yeah. Debbie McDonald. Where are you hiding, Debbie? Oh, I see you. Come on up. Hello.
For speaking to that you see on Facebook, I think a lot of the problem, Cindy, as you know, and I know you're not on Facebook, is though that once the information starts to gather on there, and no one comes in unless they're running, they're on Facebook then, once they're elected, it's very hard for people really to get answers. And sometimes they do send emails to board members and they don't hear back. I know you all are busy, everyone's busy, but I think a lot of it, by seeing how many people are in the room and how many people are online, is there is a lot of concern about this. There is a lot of confusion. And I think taking some time to clear that up and answer some questions would be wise for the community. I think there's a lot of concerns. One of the things you said that stood out to me is you don't know how much the 851 buildings are going to cost. None of us know. And I think being that this is an asset of our community, we have to take care of this first before we go out and, it's like I always said, I would love a swimming pool, but I need a new roof and the kids got to go to college and there's other expenses I have. So just being someone who tries to take the fiduciary responsibility seriously, which I know you all are, is we really need to know where we're at. And I don't know what a couple of weeks would hurt. You could be bringing on some new people. You could sit down and bring them into the discussion on that. I think sometimes just taking a pause and slowing down may make some sense on this. Also, just to point out, and I sent a note to the Finance Committee earlier, our website shows on our trailing 12 months that we have spent $35 million, which I know is incorrect, but again, there's just little details like this. When you go to the website and you look under Graham Manners under CRA and you see that it shows we spent $35 million when our budget is $8 million, obviously it's a mistake, but again, it's another detail we need to take care of. Where do the numbers come from? Who posted it? Who's overseeing this? Because if you're brand new and you come to the community and you see this, it doesn't make sense. So, and just more details. And thank you all for all you do.
Thanks.
Debbie, that's been corrected since you texted me this morning. That's been corrected since you texted me this morning.
It's still up 5 o'clock. So I just
So they just
She
sent
just
me
took
an
it down
email.
now?
Yeah, that it's been
Okay.
corrected.
But it was up from 9 to 5. She just took it down because I texted her again. So, but again, where did 35 million come from? Again, just the detail. Yeah.
Thanks,
So there's
Deb.
8 million in the bank.
Davis? Okay. Can you at least wait? Can we see you? Okay. David and Desiree Eastman.
We'll pass.
We're gonna pass, okay. Hi, Dave and Desiree. Tasha. You are?
Hello. How's
Come
everybody doing?
down.
Hello, everyone. Pasha Tagdiri, 1226 Roycroft Avenue. Good to see such a big turnout here and online. And first, I want to say that we're in the middle of an election, and we're about to have 3 new board members. As you all know, 2 board members resigned, and 1 board member.
I was gonna say maybe just 2 because.
Well, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. One is up for re-election.
Yeah.
So looking at B3, I think it's wildly inappropriate that we're having a vote on this when we're not at a full board, and one of the board members, currently Bill, could not be there the next week. And he's supposed to have a vote on whether we should go through these vendors. I just don't think it's right, and I don't think it's ethical. And another thing that I've seen since I started getting involved with this board in general is the past year is you do stuff that creates chaos and confusion. Just like you did, why do you think everyone is here? Why do you think everyone is online? Because they've lost their trust in you. Because you try to slide something in and then you don't tell anyone anything about it.
Amen.
You answered our questions here tonight, and thank you for that. But we have the technology. You can jump on Facebook Live. You can answer people's questions. You can do that. You guys don't do that. Celia usually posts the agenda the day before. She didn't do that. So what does everyone start saying? Everyone starts saying, oh, they're trying to hide something. They're trying to hide something. I know that may not be your intention, but that is what you keep doing. And that is why people are losing their trust in you. I just want you to know these are how the residents feel. So you should table this until after the election is over. Thank you.
I'd like to respond. I got an email earlier today telling me not to vote because my term may be up. But either way, that's not the way it works in government. And even here, you have an election, people are elected. Between the time of the election and between the time of the new administration, people get to vote. And why would I give up my vote because a new board's going to come in?
1 second. Judges recuse themselves all the time, okay?
I know they do, but I'm not a judge and this is not a court.
Dictator.
So the answer is no, I will not recuse myself.
And again, we're not spending any money. We're not signing any kind of a contract. All we're doing is telling these people, we'd like to talk to you a little bit more about this. And I plan to have a meeting, bringing everybody up to speed next week. Are you not going to be here next week?
Sure, I'm here.
Okay.
We don't know until the election ends whether.
Well,
it's
yeah,
gonna
but
be
I
here
mean,
next
I thought
week.
you said next week.
Yeah,
Who
no,
knows what would happen?
I can't be here
No,
tonight. The votes are counted,
Oh,
but I can be here all the rest of the
I
time.
think,
Okay.
I think the comment was, since he may only have one more week, he should recuse himself. Isn't that it?
why should you? Well, that's
The
a
gentleman, I shouldn't, gentleman over there thinks I should, because I'm a lame duck or something.
No, you're still a board member officially.
That's sort of how I feel
until-
about it, but
until March 3rd. Until the orientation meeting is when the board will flip. So up until then, Bill has the same voice that we do, and he deserves that respect. Because he's worked, the year that he's been on here, he's worked hard. And I'm very disappointed that someone would even suggest that you, recuse yourself or, be as a lame duck. And again, I'm sorry, if there's folks that are out there that think that we are trying to hide something, we are not. I'm trying to be Cindy, who's had this job for 3 months, I'm trying to be as transparent as possible. Believe me. So, again, I'm sorry if some of you feel that way. We're doing the best we can. We're trying to right the ship, and that's all I'm going to say about that. And last but not least, we have. Listen.
Have a couple of people online.
Okay. Kathy's the last one in the room, then we'll go to people online.
Good evening. Thank you for having us, and for everybody that's coming. This is really nice to see everybody here. My name is Kathy Carlson. Bruce and I live at 1243 Aquila Loop in Aquila, Missouri. The two of us, and also I'm the owner of Imagination Realty. We do about $35 million last year. We did every year just in celebration of closed real estate sales. So that's great news for the foundation, who gets money from every sale that happens in celebration. So I'm also a trustee on the foundation. My concern is this. I don't know if any of you have had this letter. This is called a property compliance. I'm sure some of you call them love letters, some of you call them nastygrams, but it's actually called the property compliance form. One of my people, one of my customers, closed on a house on East Lawn on December 29th. When people close, there's a final compliance visit on the home to make sure that we can keep our standards up. So they got one on December 29th. That was the closing date, right before that, and it had no violations on it. Due to an emergency in the family, won't elaborate on that, they have to sell the house again and go back to their place in Colorado. So I have resold the house. All this in a matter of a couple weeks. These people, these sellers who are in an emergency situation, just got a property compliance form with 7 violations. They had nothing on December 29th. The concern that I have is, and I've been working on this for 2 years, asking different board members, why are they not getting pictures? First of all, we've had it where it's not even the right house because we don't have a picture to prove it's their house. They have no pictures. They don't know what it means when it says the front and right side exterior of the garage needs a paint touch-up. Could you give us a picture? They don't live here anymore. A lot of the Celebration residents that are your nice neighbors live in other countries. They live in other states, and they don't have a picture. Now, I've been asking, I know I've talked to Celia, and she's listened very attentively. We need pictures. When you get a letter like this, and you've got in a very short period of time before closing to go do this many violations, you don't even know how to get the vendors. That takes a long time. And it says you have to apply for a shrub, you have to apply for this. Please, may I make another formal request to this board and to the Grand Manners executives here. Please, when you send out any kind of property compliance, whether it's for resale or anything, please send us pictures. We don't know what it means if we don't see. And we have to send it to the vendors. So if you have to get a landscape, you need to send him this whole list with pictures so he knows that's the dead bush. That's what was there before. So if I could please, just on behalf of all new residents, particularly maybe a lot of you older residents, please send us pictures with this. I don't understand what the problem is. And so that is my plea this evening. And I'd love to hear some kind of work.
We talked about this recently, because that's an estoppel issue. And
Yes.
I've
They
asked them,
started doing it. They started doing it.
Well, I just got this one.
We started doing it. Last week was our first mail merge with all the pictures, the map, the diagram of the house,
Right.
located of where the violations
Okay.
are and everything. So we've already started.
So if
that
I could
process.
ask you to send the pictures on this one,
Yeah.
because I have to get a landscaper as the realtor, because they don't live here, and I have to get all that done for them, but I have no pictures to ask for an estimate. Okay? I thank you.
fortunate for that family.
It's very unfortunate, but this is for the estoppel. I'm sure many of you have gotten these letters, because they're going around every day in the different villages that are the same situation, to replace, remove, repair, repaint. They don't get pictures either. It's a letter at all, I believe, should get the picture. Thank you. That's great.
Okay, we'll take, there's one more hand in the audience, we'll take, and then we'll get right to you folks out there.
Sharon.
It is.
Didn't realize I needed to sign the list.
Oh, that's okay.
My name's Stephen Valentine. I live in 117 Oscar Square. I moved to the town 22 years ago with my family. I've lived in 3 villages. One need that we've talked about since the beginning of time was talked with Disney, was a community center. Seniors would have access to activities during the day, students evening, families on the weekends. This is something that's been going on. There was a survey that a lot of money and a lot of time was spent to get done. Pickleball was not on the top of that list. I believe it might have been 6th, but there were several other items that could easily be fulfilled that are not being fulfilled. You were going to use one of our remaining plots of land. I understand you've spent $100,000 so far. That's the minimum. I'm a developer. We spend that, look at a deal and walk away. You're about to use one of our remaining pieces for something that 2% of the population, 3% of the population of the town will use. That's not proper use of the remaining resources we have. It might be a very vocal group amongst you, but throughout the town, when you socialize, people are opposed to pickleball going on this property. I understand you're just going to speak with them, but that's just moving the ball down the road. We're going to speak with them. It costs us nothing, but it's just moving that ball down the road. You might go to a hearing for something and it doesn't get approved. It doesn't mean you don't keep working and get it done eventually. This isn't something that was on the top of the list. It's not something that the majority of the town supports, or even a third of the town supports. I think this board is making a mistake pushing something that is not necessary to the majority of the residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. We will go to our people that are online. First one is Christy Flanagan.
Hello,
Are you
yes.
there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. My name is Christy Flanagan Fedden. I'm at 1106 Banks Rose Court. I do respectfully ask that you table the pickleball discussion for now and frankly, seriously reconsider it going forward. I'm really just going to echo a lot of the concerns that others have raised. My highest concern is really, again, as you have mentioned, that we have 2 very clear expenditures that we have ahead of us with the renovation of the athletic complex, which is a significant problem with the minimal amount of rain and those fields are unusable, and as well as the renovations to the 851 building, which will absolutely be dipping from the same pot of the capital fund from which you want to use this pickleball expenditure. And that's also noted kind of in passing, in this proposal that, a phased approach is suggested because of the unknown nature of how much the 851 building will cost. But I would, respectfully say that is a priority, that until we know how much the renovations to the 851 building will cost, that we should not be willing to even consider any other type of expenditures coming out of the capital fund. My other concerns have also been raised by many of the other community members tonight, I continue to be very concerned about the fact that there's been no kind of demonstrated or verifiable need that the community wants this pickleball court. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I was also going to mention the surveys as well. There's clearly a lot of concern and controversy, if you will. It's important that when we're looking to spend such a significant amount of money, that it's an amenity that all will have access to, that all are interested in. And if we are to look to continue forward with this project, I would be interested in having really some type of demonstrated need, that this isn't simply a loud minority of people who want it, and it's something that's going to benefit the community as a whole, and that there's an interest in the community as a whole to go forward with this. Thank you.
Thanks, Christy. Next is Mr. Keith Thompson. You there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can.
Hi, Keith Thompson, 1201 Celebration Avenue, number 201. I might actually surprise you, because I agree that you should vote on this tonight, because you are elected for a 1-year term or a 2-year term or a 3-year term, depending on what it is. And that's 365 days multiplied. I do, however, think you should vote no, and that you shouldn't spend the money, particularly given that we don't know. I mean, you said earlier, you don't know what the repairs to the 851 are going to cost. That, to me, is absolutely the right reason not to vote this in. You know, you talked about it being cheaper, which is fine, but then we get in the same situation we're in with the sports fields, that we have to spend who knows how much later on to maintain or to get them up to standard. So I do think that you should vote on it, but I do think you absolutely have to vote no if you're acting as fiduciary guardians of the community funds. The other thing that I will ask, and this is more of an ongoing question, we keep going on about transparency. Can we see minutes of each of the committees published regularly, consistently online, please? And as another one that's coming through your favorite social media medium earlier on, can we put the link to the meeting in the blast as well? Because all you have is a link to download Teams, and I got caught up with this earlier, and I know other people continue to, that you have to go to the website to get the link to click to get into the meeting. So I just think that would help communication and transparency if we could do those two things. Thanks.
Thanks, Keith. And we have one more, somebody named Roger.
17, I think it's honeysuckle.
717 Honeysuckle?
Yes, was just getting my mic on. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Roger Niemczyk, Niemczyk, 717 Honeysuckle. Couple of points I'd like to make. First off, as I toured the town, I noticed that the Stetson school building has a for lease sign on it. And I'm wondering if that would possibly be something that suited our offices, and then turn the current offices into a community center. Just something out there, because evidently, I guess Stetson moved out, and I don't know all the details on it, but when I see a sign outside that says for lease, I wonder what the opportunity may be there. Secondly, there was a comment made a little earlier about, all I am saying is we just want to talk to them. So my question would be, why do you have to vote on just wanting to talk to them? I don't understand that. If I'm dealing with a contractor, I don't decide to go with him or have my wife vote on, well, are we going to go with him or not, until I have all the details from that particular contract. So I don't understand why a vote needs to be done to talk to a contractor. And maybe it's something in the bylaws, I have no idea, but that's just my perspective. And so I would hope you wouldn't hold the vote this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to take a whack at it. Lauren, you can correct me if I'm wrong. To do with transparency, but it also has to, we sent out, correct me if I'm wrong, 5 RFPs?
We sent out RFPs to 5 different vendors.
Right. And 3 of them didn't even respond.
Correct.
Two of them responded. He is the only one that had more questions and really was interested in doing the work.
They were the ones who asked the majority of the questions throughout the bid process before submitting a final bid. They're also the only group that when the SME group and myself generated additional questions with Kalik Group, who is our owner rep for this project, sent them back out to the two bidders. Polly's the only one who responded and was willing to engage in further discussion.
Good. The value of the two original bids is in the action item, which is published. So you can see that Faden came in at $2.3 million and Poly came in at $1.9 million. Having done a lot of construction bidding, my concern is, it's multiple, is that one, there was so little interest in this. It's too small a project for the marketplace. At the moment, everybody's busy. It's too small a project for interest. We have one bidder who has a time limit. What is it, 45 days?
30 or 45.
Yeah, so we can talk about all we like, but his bid goes away at the end of that period. And then we go back and rebid, which puts us in an awkward position because the contractors generally know what the other contractors are doing. First, Poly will probably never come back at that price again because he already knows the competition is weak. If he were to bid it again, because it takes time and money to bid things, and he may say these guys can't make up their minds, they'll go on to something else. So we may not get any good bids. I would expect all future bids to be at least higher than the lowest bid we have now. But that's the way the process will work. So we need to be cautious not to let our one bidder disappear. So we should move on our end as quickly as we can for any other meetings or any other actions, unless we're prepared to walk away.
That's why we have this group that's representing
Right.
us.
We hired somebody to represent us.
That the
manage
board
all this.
approved. That's why we got them. So they can do all of this, correct?
Correct.
That's a good point, Bill. Thank you.
And one other thing is that the finance committee, Grand Manners, in the role of the treasurer, we've all looked at it. Money is not an issue. There is enough money to fix up this building, not make any additions to it, not make any changes, and there's enough money to build pickleball courts. Part of this is a timing thing, is not all the money gets spent at the same time. You don't spend at the time you award it. So some of this work will be into next year. So then draws would be next year and we get more money by then. But either way, there's enough money to do it. There isn't necessarily enough money to make any major improvements with new space over here. But that remains to be seen. We don't know what it's going to cost here because we don't know how to fix it. And we've hired somebody to find us engineers to tell us how to fix it. The building system on the exterior walls leaks. Most of it does not touch the ground and water comes in under the walls. And that's where most of the water came from. And if you want to stick your hands in the dirt, which I've done, you can put your hand under the wall, see there's nothing there. A few of the places it doesn't leak, it does leak at the roof. And then the other problem is some of the windows. But the drywall in here should be fairly inexpensive. We just need somebody to tell us what's the most effective way of fixing the exterior. The building, if the curtains weren't up, you can see there's some substantial steel work holding up this building. So this is a very solid building. The walls are a lightweight wall, built generally for a different type of purpose than this purpose. But it wasn't built for this purpose. It was built for a school initially by Disney. So I think we can come in fairly inexpensively on here, certainly nowhere near the $2.2 million to fix it up. That's a totally made up number. And if anybody says it isn't, please come to be and prove to me I'm wrong on that.
And why aren't we going through insurance?
Insurance. Well, part of the problem with insurance is, and I'm open to discussion on this, part of the problem with the insurance is when you go into the walls as an adjuster will, you're going to find that these leaks have been here a good long time. So we're not in a good position to claim that this was caused by the hurricane when we already knew it. We're further a little exposed because we had looked into this in August. Brand Manors had hired an engineering firm to come out and look at the building perimeter, which they did, and they came back with a bunch of things they thought might be a problem for further analysis. That in fact all happened during the hurricane. Everything I just said went wrong. So it's like we didn't know. So to go to an insurance company and say, oh, this leaked because of the storm, I don't know that we can make that story stick. But whatever we do, once we put in a claim, we're going to get substantially greater insurance charges indefinitely. That will never go away, no matter what we ask for. And it's already going to go up just because it was a hurricane, and we kind of slipped under the costing issue on what we have because we needed our contract signed in December, and the insurance companies are still fiddling around with what the impacts of the hurricane were going to be to their marketplace. So I'm not sure we can put in a great claim. It would be good if we could.
Bill, I'm gonna.
Yep.
Okay. We've got David online, and then we're gonna have to move on because we haven't even really started at our agenda yet.
I just have a question.
Sure.
The owner comments, I think should just be owner comments, and the board should discuss this when it comes up in the agenda. That's not happened so far. We only have one more. I would actually like as many people to speak as want to speak.
Well, I didn't say they couldn't speak later. What you're saying?
The owner comments would be at the end, or what?
Well, no, because usually we have owner comments, and then we ask them to comment again when we're going through the action items
Okay.
if they have anything.
Right,
I didn't say
okay.
they couldn't do that.
Got
I was
it.
just hoping to answer a
I
lot
don't
of
think that
questions
was
before we got there.
readily apparent.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
David, you're next. Are you still there?
I am. Can you hear me?
I can.
Great. David Hume, 1109 Rush Court. Thanks for the opening comments, Cindy, for clarifying that. But a question I got during the discussion was, you mentioned specifically that there was no money expenditure that was part of the motion that's on the table right now, yet I heard Bill say that there is a sunset on these quotes. So can you confirm whether the motion as it's drafted now will obligate CROA moving forward with a specific amount or not?
Will not. We're just now, we're going to go into the negotiation phase. We're not signing anything. We're just moving the process along.
So
But
then,
the quote that they gave us is only good for 45 days. And what Bill is saying is, if we let that 45 days go, we may end up paying more in the long run. So it doesn't hurt us any to keep going at this point for at least the next 45 days. So.
okay, well, if I could ask, the text in the motion as it stands now does seem to obligate the board, if that could be clarified or amended, because it does mention capital funding in the motion. So if that is not true, I would ask that that would be amended to match your statement.
Makes sense. Thanks, David. Okay. I saw a hand go up in the back, but we really need to get with the agenda. Hopefully, you can ask your question later on as we go through. I'm sorry, we'll never get out of here. Go
Maybe
ahead.
if we say, are there any non-Lot D project related comments?
We can do that. Are there any? No, okay. Is that Debbie or the person behind you? Person behind you. Okay. Yeah, one more, please.
I'm Carol George.
Hi, Carol.
114 Parlor Avenue, North Village. So my question has to do with figures that have been bandied about tonight that I have some questions about. So instead of the 2 million whatever figure, you're saying that it would be $918,000 for 8 courts with some modifications such as no lighting. Well, we live in Florida. It's stinking hot in the summer. In order to play, you probably want to play after the thunderstorms in the afternoon, and that would require a little lighting maybe.
Right.
So that's one comment. The other comment is, does the $918,000 also take out the bathrooms? There will be no bathrooms in that figure?
The bathrooms, there were never bathrooms
They're never
figured
in.
into
Right.
any of the figures.
Bathrooms in?
There's
Already
bathrooms
there.
at the complex already.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
just across the little parking lot that's
Okay.
there.
And then the other question I have also about the figures is the figures for improving this building. Now, I was at a meeting several months ago, many months ago, where Danny Bumpus was giving some suggestions for reimagining this building, if you will.
That's something completely different.
I understand it
Yeah.
is, but if we're gonna look at the building, let's look at the building because we own this.
True. Oh,
We
absolutely.
own this. And expand this building while we're making improvements to the exterior walls, the windows, the HVAC system, the carpeting. If we can get more space, why would we do, I'm gonna just pull a figure out of the air. Why would we do $1 million renovation when for $2 million we could double the space?
I'm with you.
So,
Could I raise one point on this?
Sure. But let's, sorry.
There is, if we were to fix up this building, that doesn't preclude doing something to the back above the activity room, which is the most cost-efficient way of doing it. However, I think, at least my personal objection, I think a lot of other people would be, to get this building back functioning as quickly as possible. And if we get into the planning stage for building new space and building new things, it's going to be a lot longer before we can get lifelong
we
and
got
everybody
rental
else
space
in.
available across the street. Let's fix it right. Let's do it once and do it right the first time.
But we can do the whole building.
Let's figure out
Right,
how to
right.
do it.
It's not, this is not.
Yeah.
Let's
back and
figure out
forth.
how to do it. Let's not spend good money on new exterior walls and then say, oops, we really should have pushed those walls out a little bit. Oh, we put a new roof on, but you know, we should have raised the ceiling.
That's not gonna happen.
And put a second floor.
Well,
I think there should be studies
Okay.
looking at
Let
the
her
pros and cons to both. To a limited response to correction and to an enhanced response to correction that would give us more capabilities, more space, and end this discussion about what are we going to do? What are we going to do? All the hand wringing. We don't have enough space. We need to have the movie theater. We need another building. We need to do.
Yeah.
Let's just do it once right.
I'm with you.
Okay, that's my
Wait,
thing.
we're not there yet, unfortunately, but
I think
I'm with you. I mean,
some of those questions need to be asked and answered.
I would share with you what my opinion is, but that'd open up a whole new can of worms. So I apologize, but let's try to.
But I needed some clarification about those figures.
We'll
So
get to
all
that.
we've taken out of the $2 million is lighting?
No,
We'll get to that
when it comes
when
to
we
the end.
get to it.
Okay, I look forward to it.
Okay.
I just have one comment to make, I'm sorry, before we actually get to the agenda, and that
Okay.
is, I was waiting for this agenda item to speak to it. I am not in total agreement with everyone who has spoken already. That's all.
Regarding.
Okay. All right, moving on, and thank everybody for your comments, good or bad or indifferent. No, would you- Okay, so we just got through owner comments.
Oh.
And we got through the
So I didn't
agenda.
miss anything.
No.
You missed the owner comments.
Yeah,
Yeah, I heard them. I was online.
There you go. Okay, board meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from January 25th?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Uh-oh.
Who's second? Yeah.
No, okay, we'll give it to Bill. Okay, December financials, we actually,
We have to vote.
oh, I'm sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Okay, sorry about that. All right, December financials, and we have our accountant on the line, yes?
Yes, Jennifer's online and ready to speak to the financials.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Okay, so I can't see what you're showing unless you're going to try to show something for the.
The CROA deficit chart that you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so for 2022, this chart basically is summing up the overages, the $444,000 overage that we had from the budget for 2022 is much better than the original larger anticipated amount. Yes, it's still high, so we want to just talk about and break down what it was so everyone can understand. This 444 deficit is due to several categories, which you see outlined in that pie chart. Landscaping costs were 14% higher than the budgeted anticipated amount. Electricity was 19% over budget. As we all know, expenses just kind of grew last year. There were significant maintenance expenses, which almost half of them attributed to the hurricane. Engineering costs for Island Village inspections caused our professional fees to be over budget. The resident ID tags were also over budget due to resales and new sales for Island Village. And the balance of the overages other than that is the pool repairs. And there were 2 saltwater pools that had to be converted or that were converted to chlorine pools. So repairing the filter and the heating systems were required. So those are the items that contributed to last year's overage.
Thank you. This is information as of the end of 2022.
That's correct.
And if I can just clarify one thing on the pools, they were previously converted to chlorine pools without the board's knowledge. So last year we converted them back to the saltwater pools that their systems and heater were intended to. And as part of that, you had to repair the filtration system and the heating system for both.
Again, we didn't know until we started looking. Brian, you have a comment quickly? Or on Brian, comment quickly.
Brian Kissel, 708 Golf Park Drive. And for clarity, I was on the board for 4.5 years and on the finance committee. We spent less money in 20 and 21 because of COVID. So we had, I'm going from memory here, but I'm pretty certain we had some profits. So we were doing a catch up. And just as a refresher, the largest issue the board heard last February, March, April, May was get everything fixed, which is why we said we were getting things fixed. So this overage here was driven by prior period profits, responding to the residents, and I believe you have a balanced budget for 2023. So really this is a one-time fix to request from residents and reflecting really a 3-year period in my thoughts.
Good point. Thank you, Brian. Okay. So, any questions about the financials? Anybody? Okay. Do I have?
Did you want her to do the fund balances for January?
Can I make a statement, please, about that budget? The 2022 budget?
Sure.
That 2022 budget was created before Grand Manners came on as a management company, correct, Brian?
Yeah.
So, thank you. Just want to get that clear.
Okay.
So, Jen, do you want to take away the balance sheet as of January?
Sure. Yeah, so the fund balances as of the end of January are as follows. The operating sits at $854,213. The reserves are $1,726,210. And our capital improvement fund is $2,797,055.
All right. And of course, that money will continue to generate as the years go on and people pay the assessments and people sell houses and blah, blah, blah. So they'll continue to go up. So, okay. Do I have a motion to approve the financials as presented?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
And Bill again. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Thank you, David. Action items on the consent agenda. These are all things that we've looked at, but they're pretty routine things. I have a motion to accept the consent agenda and approve everything listed there.
So moved.
I wasn't here. Did you move anything out of this?
No.
No. Everything from 1 to 8 is good.
No, it's 1 to 6.
They redid it.
You've got another
Another
where you're sitting.
So yes, they did, and they moved 2 items out. Now there are only 6.
Okay. Okay. The agenda motion to accept the consent agenda. Do I have a second? You, Bill? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Thank you, David. Okay, now we move on to the action items where there's actually action required. So, number 1 is motion to ratify the reconstruction management agreement with reconstruction experts in an amount not to exceed $15,000. And that comes out of CROA operating funds. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Will you explain to the residents what that means?
Certainly.
Does anybody want to know what it means?
Yeah, Reconstruction Experts is the company that we are using to manage the RFP and almost owner repping for the figuring out what's wrong with Town Hall, what needs to be done, getting the engineering bids back, and kind of translating that engineering response so they can have a conversation with the board about what needs to be done as mission critical to fix this building, what are things that can be deferred or delayed if you're contemplating expansion or modification, and what things are semi-superfluous in their expertise. So they will help in that process in getting the board the information they need.
Thank you. Okay, anything else? All righty, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
I just want to make one statement. We're approving something in front of an audience full of residents talking about this building, and it's important that you know that we're spending $15,000 on a company to tell us what's wrong with this building, right?
All right, they're experts.
Correct.
Right,
Well, to hire
So-
somebody to tell us.
right. So it's important to residents to know that.
Okay, thank you. Moving on. Number 2, motion to accept turnover of Island Village Townhome Buildings 14, 16, and 19, effective March 1st, 2023. We have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
Haley and Jim. Any discussion?
Yes, and it doesn't have to do with this, but are we going to address the?
I'll talk about it during management
Okay.
update. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 In case you're wondering why David sounds that way, he hasn't been feeling well since he got off his cruise 2 weeks ago. So that's why he's kind of froggy. Okay, we're moving number 3 down to the end. And we are moving number 6. We're going to be looking at that one next.
When are we doing this?
At the end,
Before 10.
for fee waiver.
Okay.
Okay, so universal. Okay, we're gonna make a motion to approve the universal resolution for the committees. For those of you who don't know, that's a resolution that the board does every year, and it governs the operations of all our committees. ARC, the Covenant, the Dog Park, Tech Committee, Parks and Rec, special events, all of them. Usually, they just change the date on and move it forward. This year, since we had time, and I thought about it early enough, David, Lauren, and I sat down and just went through and clarified some things, reworded things a little bit. We added in this document, we had advisory groups. Before, it was just committees and task forces. Now we added advisory groups because we've been using those a lot lately, and we defined it and we included that in this resolution. We added the authority for committees to appoint committees for specific projects, but it's subject to board approval. We had some instances where subcommittees were being formed, but we didn't know anything about it until after the fact. So we added that to make sure that that doesn't happen again, and that is more clear. There's a section about about the process once the applications came into the office, but we decided that didn't need to be in this because it has nothing to do with the board. It has to do with how the office operates. So we took that out. There's a section about appointments that previously included a list of actions that could cause people to be removed from the committee. It's kind of buried in the verbiage. So what we did was we took that out and made an exhibit as part of this resolution. So going forward, every committee will see that, and they will all read it and sign and know that there's a standard of conduct, just like the board signs. There's a standard of conduct for committees as well. Because unfortunately, since I've been on the board for 2 years, I've been to at least one of every committee meeting. And I'm embarrassed to say that there's some behavior that should have never happened. A lot of times it's directed at, most of the time, a lot of times sometimes I've even seen it directed towards the residents and the audience by members of these committees. So we are going to make sure that that behavior discontinues, and there'll be a management liaison there, and there'll be a board liaison there, and they will be the witnesses. And if they feel that what is said is inappropriate or rude or just out of line, that's going to be it for that person, because these folks don't get paid enough to take that kind of grief. I mean, the things that I've seen, I'm in shock the way people talk to some of the people. So anyway, it's not all the committees and it's not all the time, but it happens frequently enough where we need to make sure that people understand there's consequences for that. They're getting a whole lot about it. And then we also kind of, I don't want to use the word power, but up until this point, the committee basically interacted with the staff liaison. And I think, was there one meeting that you went to years ago where they told you that you were to sit there and say nothing as the board representative? Mm-hmm. So something's not right here because the committees work at our direction, and tell a board member that they cannot speak doesn't make any sense. So we kind of worded that different. So, you know, if I go to the covenants meeting, I can actually say something if I want to, which I do anyway. They don't seem to mind too much. And so do you, yes. But anyway, so we clarified that. So that's what we're doing here. So do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Right, David? Is that you?
Yeah, I'll second if, and I'd also like to make a comment if I can.
Can.
Yeah, thank you. Just in terms of context, you know, these universal standards that we're talking about, and please pardon my voice, it's finally coming back. These standards that we set was really a refinement and a fresh look at something that was written 10 or 12 years ago and has just kind of been buried that many of us did not know was there. So we condensed it, we clarified some of those things you highlighted, Cindy, and that's very helpful. And I think we want to reaffirm the importance of volunteers, the importance of using the interest and their expertise in an advisory way, but also moving towards, as we've tried to do in other things, not to perfection by any means, but try to move towards greater professionalism with how the whole management of the community is operating. So I think that's the intent of all of this. And then, if you will, the reshaping of the individual annual goals for each of the committees. So that's just the context.
Thanks, David. Okay.
I have. Okay.
This
is discussion report.
Sure.
For this, yeah, I have a comment.
Okay.
Away from the extensive amount of work that you and David both put in on this, and not to necessarily
and Lauren
not to necessarily disagree with anything that's in it, but again, this was talked about around the Lot D project. I believe since we are seating a new board in 7 days, we'll have new officers in 9 days. I would like to recommend that we table this until the March meeting.
We're going to vote it.
I'd like to comment.
Oh, wait, David, let's just vote on it because we're running out of time.
That's fine.
But
That's fine.
Point
That's
taken.
fine.
Okay. Thank you, dear. All right. So we had a motion from Celia and David seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And just the reason we're doing this is a routine thing. It's not like David said. This document has probably been the same for the last 10 years. Everybody's just like, yeah. So it's very basic. So we can always come back and change it next year.
But it wasn't updated last year the way it should have been
never.
updated.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Cindy, the important thing in timing is we've been working on this as a board, and drafts have been circulated for months. One of your first initiatives when you became president was to start to take a look at this so that this can be out of the way to help jumpstart the new board. Otherwise, it's going to be April or May until the committees get going again. We wanted to help the new board. That was the intent. I'm glad this passed.
Thank you. Okay, so then now we're going to go to what was original 4, which is the task force resolutions for committees. Again, this is something that usually year after year, people are like, oh, it's March, it's April, we have to do the resolutions. Okay, looks good to me, and off they go. So as David said, first of the year, I said, let's start thinking about this rather than waiting till the last minute. So I asked each liaison to work with their committee and each board liaison to work with their committee and their staff liaison to put together new goals. The only thing that I asked was that they include a scope of that, something new, just a scope, what it is in general they're supposed to be doing. And then as they're listing their goals and objectives, to try to put some measurable goals in there. For instance, when I was reading the bylaws and things, I saw that, excuse me, they say that, I don't remember the bylaws and the charts, anyway, it says that the ARC committee and covenants should meet several times a year. Not been happening. So in the goals, I put in there that in each one, so they mirror each other, they will meet in April, they will meet in August, and they will meet in December. And the purpose of that is ARC sees things that people are trying to do to improve their homes and like that. The Covenants Committee sees things that are deficiencies in homes. So they need to come together to say, for instance, we are getting so many covenants violations because they're the roots in the easement. What can we do to fix that? So they come together. It's the ARC committee that is responsible to write new guidelines, to change the guidelines, but they both have input. So not that the ARC committee doesn't look at these all the time, but it should be very helpful for them to get together and discuss it, just so they get both sides of the coin. So those are the only two things that I asked. So anyway, we have several here. The ARC Committee, Special Events Committee, Parks and Rec, Technology, Finance Committee, Covenants Committee, Dog Park Committee, Service Area Committee. We found that we only had a couple that actually had a document like this. So and they're all the same. So we just made one master service area agreement, which makes more sense. And they will also sign the end of the Exhibit A from the master resolution packet. So, motion to approve these.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Again, as I did with the general resolution, I think number one, this should be put off until we see the new board. And number two, I believe instead of us making a decision, going over it quickly on a board meeting, I believe that this should be a discussion item before it's approved. As you well know, as I told you, and Dave, I personally have some issues with the technology committee resolution and how drastically it has changed. We basically have not had a technology committee since a budget was approved. That I know there's disagreement on this, but there wasn't a line item in it for the technology committee. So I'm not sure who was part of that discussion. I know Jose gave input as he should. David gave input as he should. I'm sure you gave input as you should.
Who, me?
Yeah.
I don't know about technology.
Okay. Again, I would ask that we do not pass these tonight, that we wait until a new board is seated, and we don't even bring it up as an action item, but we bring it up as a discussion item.
Well, the other thing
I'm sorry.
No,
what? Celia said something I didn't hear.
Call the vote.
What?
Well, I'm just saying, call the vote.
Wait, I want to say something
Okay,
first.
say something.
I don't want everybody calm. I don't want everybody
I am
to.
calm.
I know.
I think you know.
I know this is calm for you. First of all, I sent these out as I got them, so everybody got these emailed to them. Exception of service areas. I mean, weeks and weeks and weeks ago.
No, I did not get the technology committee until.
Dog park.
Well, those were the last, and again, apologies, but David was sick.
He hasn't been at a meeting in over a year.
Okay, that's neither here nor there, but thank you for sharing.
But it is.
I understand. But anyway, so, and each time I send it out, I said, please, send me your comments, concerns, or whatever, and I got crickets.
Well, the technology committee, the first time I saw it, I did send an email to you.
Right.
And you forwarded it on to David. David hasn't been available for those 2 weeks, so It's not been months and
That's-
months. I know you've been
That's-
working on months and months, and again, I don't
Well,
want to,
those were the last
I
two.
don't want to take away from the work that you guys put into this. You put a lot of work into it. I appreciate it. I have a full-time job. I can't put that much time into it, so I really appreciate what you guys do for this community. And I don't want this to seem like it's a personal affront to either of you, because I've worked hard to repair our relationships after I damaged them.
I
Okay?
just forwarded it on, that's all.
I know, no, I'm just saying,
I know.
it's just been 2 weeks.
Cindy,
That's why I'm doing this, not for any other reason other
Well, do you
than,
want to make another motion? Do you want to pull the technology committee out of there? Is that the only one that you have an issue with?
I would like to pull the technology committee, as a compromise.
Cindy,
Okay.
if I may, I actually I
Celia, you
drafted
accept
that.
that modification?
No, these resolutions for the committee should have been done last year, 2022, and it was just skated over. We've been working really hard the past couple of months to get everybody from management on board, committee on special events, parks and rec, service area. We've been working on these resolutions, which should have been done last year, but they weren't. So I don't see why you just can't put these resolutions forward.
I have another comment.
So I made the motion to approve them and Bill seconded it.
And we are in discussion.
Yep.
I'd like to make another comment. And someone's raising their hand probably to make the same comment. Some of the people on the committees haven't seen these and reviewed them and have given any feedback on them. So that is a concern for me because it's really important that we have committees that are properly motivated to serve the community, because it is also a difficult job to serve on a committee.
So these resolutions are for 2023 with new committee members coming on.
Yeah, so
Not
this
for
is not
last year, it's for the
Yeah.
new committees coming on.
Right.
No, I understand that. As you said, this should have been done last March for this year. So now instead, we're doing it in February
No,
for this coming year.
No, it's always this time of year. Last year we approved it on April
We didn't approve
17th.
it.
Yeah, after March.
Yeah. No,
That's what I'm saying.
We didn't
Because
do
we were
anything
late.
last year.
Yeah.
You didn't do any.
We didn't do anything last year. What time was it?
No.
Because we were going fast and
No, I know
we didn't do any resolutions last
Oh,
year.
you know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of seating the committees. I'm sorry.
Right.
So we
We
had
chose
already.
the committees,
Yeah,
right?
we chose committees there. So,
We didn't do any work on this. So
But-
again, I believe it needs to have work. I'm happy with everyone who's able to put time in on it. But again, we are, as everyone knows, a depleted board. We are 5 instead of 7. And I would highly recommend that we wait until we have a full board to pass this.
Cindy, David would like to comment.
Cindy,
Okay,
Cindy.
David?
Cindy, in fact,
David.
wake
up.
Can you, I'm here.
David.
Hello, is the mic not working? Mic not working?
Hello, David.
Mic not working?
While he's figuring out how he can talk to us.
We can hear you online.
I don't know.
The other part about this is these are not set in stone either. They're goals and objectives. Okay, David, try again, sorry.
Try again. Can you hear? No?
Yes, we can hear you. Gotcha. Go ahead.
Yeah, a couple of things. We did have a workshop with the technology committee to get input about the desired plans, and that was 3 months ago. And in fact, I had a draft of the proposal 3 weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago. So that's been floating. And so there's been opportunities to review.
Okay,
I call the vote.
take a vote.
All right. Okay, so we're going to keep the original motion as it was.
Do we want to take
Celia?
any owner's comments on this or not?
No.
It is- No, it's 25 after.
I thought you said,
All right.
when we
okay.
talked about owner's comments, that
Okay,
they
all
would
right, all
talk.
right, all right,
We
all
have
right.
2 people that want
Okay,
to talk.
2 people.
I'm willing to stay past 8 to make sure these are all vetted correctly. Is everyone else
That's
on the board willing to stay past 8? Okay.
Doesn't bother me? Okay. Gary?
Good evening, I'm Gary Hudspeth, 1471 Resolute Street. I'm the current chairman of the Covenants Committee, and I regret to inform you that I was not contacted to be to work on this resolution. The first time I saw it was in the board book. So I have two suggestions, particularly from the Covenants Committee as chairman. You're cutting the committee from 7 to 5 members. And I think that's a mistake because the residents deserve a variety of opinions. And I'd like to have all 7 people on the committee to express their opinion. And I think the residents that come before the Covenants Committee want to ensure that they're not just talking to 3 people, in case there's only 5 and you only have a quorum and there's only 3. It looks like could be biased. I'd rather have the multiple opinions of the more residents to vote on the committee. You additionally, it sounds like you're limiting committee members from looking at the properties the day of the meeting.
That's correct. That's per state statute. Clayton wrote the scope for the ARC committee.
But we all live here.
I'm sorry.
We all live here, and I think it's due diligence for us to be able to see it. The reason I say that is because right now, we're not given the opportunity to have all of the photographs we need to make decisions. So we're going to during the Covenants Committee meetings, where you don't always have the photographs to make a informed decision. So you're going to find out that a lot of addresses are going to be tabled until we can get more information, which means another month.
You're going to find that the committee is going to operate much differently than it has been because of the changes to the statute. You're not, we can talk about it tomorrow offline.
Let me say that Kathy Carlson mentioned that she had a homeowner that didn't have any photographs with her violations.
But that's not, that's different. That's the estoppel.
Oh, I understand, but we still need.
Well, we're going to still have photographs and all that kind of stuff, but it's not, it's actually the management company's job.
Yes, it is.
So that's what's going to happen. And then
But the homeowners committee, homeowners on the committee have the final say as per the bylaws of working for your board.
If they, again, and I don't want to belabor this, Tom Slayton wrote that scope. And if you read it, it says that the management company, if they're the ones that cite them, and they take it to the board to fine them, then they also have the first obligation to decide if that has been corrected or not. If they say it's been corrected, then we're done. It doesn't come before the Covenants Committee.
It's almost like you're saying you don't need a Covenants Committee.
No, because you have those that will come and plead their case.
True.
And that will continue. You'll have those that will ignore it.
To do their due diligence. Yeah. But I would still like to see 7 members on this committee because it gives homeowners a better opportunity for diverse opinions.
Okay.
And I'll reiterate what I said at the beginning. I was not contacted or consulted on this.
That's because nothing on yours really changed except the scope, which was Tom Slayton's part. And then I did add the business about meeting with ARC, but basically it stayed the same. The goals and objectives.
Don't think it changed. I don't think it stayed the same. I would have liked to have been consulted.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right.
I feel that way.
That's all right. Okay, so. Wait, was there another hand?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, another hand. Okay.
And Jill Furlong, 907 Spring Park Loop Dog Park Committee Chair, currently. So I found out about the scope and all of that on January 30th.
Mm-hmm.
That's not even a month ago. When, for the first time in almost a year, if not maybe over a year, our liaison came to our meeting. Even though, as a committee, we'd asked for them to attend our committee meetings for a long time. We still don't have our lights, even though they were approved and ordered We still don't have the dog park lights. There's a whole host of things that the dog park committee is not a big deal, right? I mean, it's just the dogs. But it's a big deal to us. And we represent, you know, a lot of people who have animals that come to the dog park. And the fact that I wrote the scope, with the exception of the line that says we want to disband within a year. We don't. That was added. I did not write that. I wrote almost all of those goals in the last 3 weeks. I did not say we wanted to meet every other month. We have plenty to do in the monthly meetings that we have. We regularly talk with the landscaping and maintenance crew about the status of the dog parks, the chemicals being used in the dog parks, when things are broken at the gates and various things that nobody ever knows about until we mention them. So I really think that the scope and goals and all of that as presented for the dog park at least need to be removed, discussed, and reworked. And I think you'll find that the rest of the committee, even though they're not here, would agree with us on that. Thank you.
Thank you. So where are we?
So you have a motion, a second, you have a suggested amendment and the initial motion did not accept the initial amendment, so now you need to call the vote on the first motion.
Okay.
So let me just be clear. Who made the motion?
I made the motion.
Julie made the
Bill made the
motion.
second.
And even though you as president offered to pull the technology committee, she doesn't want to do that. Is that
Isn't
correct?
is that the way it works? She wants to amend her motion or does somebody?
Yeah, no, I understand
Okay.
it's offer.
Well, I know
just
I'm
wanted to
learning.
be clear on it because I felt when you said it to me that it was going to happen. So, thank you.
I'm sorry. So,
I'd like that.
okay.
Up until Gary spoke, I thought everybody on the committees had a chance to review their own.
Well, and again, it's because of the way Tom Slayton write their scope. That's number one. Some of the scopes that they had before are included in that scope. The ones that weren't, I left. And then the only thing I added was the thing that I found in the bylaws of the charter that had to do with the covenants committee and the ARC committee actually getting together face to face and meeting. So that's why.
Right, but either way, I still thought they all had a chance. I mean, when we did the finance one and the ARC one, as I got comments back from this committee, I sent them back to that committee, or both those committees, to see if they had any comments for the comments, so that they knew where we were heading with all this. I somehow assumed that was happening with all of them.
Okay, I'll redo my motion to table this until the new board comes on.
I'll second that.
So that will be at the end of March.
Middle. Shouldn't it be the middle? Middle?
It's, what is it? It's the 22nd again.
We're gonna ask to move it to the 29th at your March 3rd meeting because the 22nd is Ramadan.
Oh, okay.
Wait, March
Can we have it the
29th?
week before, on the 15th?
We can try.
No, there's an event at Lakeside.
There's an event at Lakeside. It's the karaoke event.
Okay.
So March 29th?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you'll decide formally at your organizational meeting when the next board meeting is.
Okay, so in that month's time, what are we going to be doing?
I don't know.
Well, that's the new board.
I'm just compromising with Jim.
But here's the
over here.
thing though, Bill.
Thank you.
You know, this is something that's routine.
Mhm.
This is something that they really don't know anything about. You know, with the experience with committees and how they work. That's why I was trying to get it done before they come on, because as you know,
Well, I'm
as you
agreeing
know,
with all
the learning curve to get on this board is, remember the first meeting the first meeting you were supposed to be at was an executive session and you didn't go? And you came to the meeting after it and I said, where were you? And he said, well, I didn't know anything about what we were going to talk about, so I didn't come. And I said, well, then you're never going to learn if you don't come. There's a huge learning curve, and this, in the greater scheme of things, is something routine. It happens every year. The committees work at our direction. You know, we really don't have to ask for their input. I just thought it would be nice. So
Now I'm confused.
I'm sorry.
So,
No, I am confused because this should have been done last year to this year, which wasn't. Again, that'll be the 10th time I said it. This is for the new committees coming on 23 that haven't even been picked yet. So the resolutions are still standing, the standing committees. This is the 2023, correct, Cindy? Mm-hmm. So the resolution we have now is from 2021. The committees that are in place now will still follow that until the new committees are put in place.
so when a new board is seated, and I generally agree with you, there's a lot of learning curve, but in reviewing the candidates, there are a number of people that have been heavily engaged in our board in the last year, and some have experience in previous very large HOAs. So I would like to have their input on that personally, the new members, and Bill, hopefully just two, because I would like for you to be back on. Does that count as an endorsement? I'm not supposed to endorse someone.
It's okay.
I don't want. Okay.
So now you have a motion from Celia to postpone till March. You have a second from Jim.
So can we not address these resolutions at the organizational meeting?
Can we not? Or
Can we? I'm sorry. Thank you. Can we address these resolutions?
I don't think that gives the new board members enough time to read them and ask any questions.
Yeah.
I don't
And
think that's
attend the
fair.
meeting if they want to see what it's all about.
Yeah. So it's time to close.
Okay. So the motion is to table this until the March 29th meeting. A second.
I seconded it.
Okay. So now that's Celia and Jim. And I'm not 100% I want to do that. Okay. So Celia doesn't want to do that. Let's start again. Okay. Do I have a motion to table all of these committee resolutions until March 29th?
So moved.
Yeah. Do we have a second? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I oppose. I oppose. David?
Oppose.
Lively discussion.
Now you need to make another motion to actually pass it.
Oh, sure. Okay. Okay, so we don't have that. So we're back to the original. Passive, thank you very much more. So now we're back to passing these resolutions as stated and as provided. I have another motion. Celia, you gonna do it again? Yes, I'll make the motion. Okay. I'm assuming Bill is not because he voted against it, so I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
David, opposed?
Yes. Aye.
Okay.
I do want to make a post-opposed comment that three members would not be a majority if we were a full board. That's all.
That's true.
So,
So who's
Just the point.
So does that mean that's a vote on
I'm
it?
just saying.
Okay. Not quite though. Moving on. Motion, okay.
Where is I'm against it?
Motion to approve dog park event as recommended by the dog park committee. Okay, I'll make the motion for discussion. May I have a second? Going once?
I'll second it.
Okay.
It's not clear who gets the freeze for your brain. Is that a person treat or a doggy treat?
Yes, they have both.
Yes.
Can I just confirm that the committee actually knows about this and
Oh, yeah, it's their idea.
I just,
Yes, it was
It's their idea.
taken.
So yes, we know
Great.
about it. I
Thank you.
planned it. I
Great.
did all the research for it. There'll be 80 people treats and 40 dog treats. You'll have it for 4 hours. Please bring your dogs.
thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion?
yeah, a question.
Unbudgeted item,
It-
but because you're no longer doing the mother-son dance because there are other mother-son events planned in the community this year. We do have some excess funds in the special events budget to cover the cost of that.
Gotcha. Thank you. That's important. David, did you want to say something? David?
Yeah, so the problem is, sorry.
That's okay.
No, you can't hear me, all right?
We can hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. So it said in the documentation that the funding would come from the dog park committee funds. Is that the true statement or not?
No, the money is coming from special events. They have extra money because they had planned to do a mother-son event.
No, that's fine. That's different than what was in the documentation.
I do have a question.
Okay.
Did the special events committee okay that?
No.
They are here to advise us, but I would think that, is it already planned? Is it already going to happen at a
It's like
certain date?
$1,200, isn't it?
So we were, as the dog park committee, we were told that it actually had gone and been okayed by the special events committee. If it has not, that's fine. We have money in the dog park fund that we've raised. We'll use that. We want to have an event. Every time we try to have an event, things happen. So by hook or by crook, we can do it now.
Sorry for the misunderstanding on that. And they have money in their dog park fund for that, it's like $1,200 something. Like that's
$1,260.
Yeah. Okay.
Now we can vote.
Thank you. So we've got a motion from me and seconded by Bill. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Move that one up. So now we're at motion to approve the finance committee recommendation of fund allocations for town hall remediation and construction expenses. Do I have a motion?
A motion, yes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Discuss this? Absolutely. I'll start because I don't know why we're doing, I don't know why we're doing this because it doesn't make any sense to me. What the suggestion is, and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, is that you, Mike, sitting next to Debbie?
It is.
Yeah, okay. I have my glasses on, I just figured that white hair, Debbie. As I understand it, the finance committee is suggesting that as we pay for the things that need to be done to this building, that we first take it out of operating expenses and then transfer money from capital or reserves to replenish the operating expense, depending where it comes from.
Yes, to bring it up capital, to keep the operating fund at its current level, not to deplete it any further. So if we pay a bill out of there, we replenish it from the capital fund.
Why wouldn't we just immediately charge it to the capital fund if that's where the money's
I
coming from?
don't think we can use capital funds for an expense. Those are for capital. A repair here is not a capital item. So for good process, we need to come out of the operating fund.
And just to be clear, right, we can reallocate capital to any place we want, correct?
We can reallocate capital to a $250,000 board. We've got roughly $3 million.
Okay.
That's written up.
This is to avoid drawing down the operating fund.
Well, I understand, but it just seems kind of muddy to me, but.
It's good accounting practice.
Okay, all right.
Lauren, do you have any, do you agree with this recommendation or Jennifer?
I'm going to let Jennifer speak to it from her accounting side.
Did she hang up?
No, I'm right here. I just had to be on mic. So, as long as there's I'm going to say a paper trail or an approval process of sorts where the money comes from, I can do it either way. If there is a motion or a board approval paperwork of sorts that basically says that any and all expenses according to this will come out of capital up to a certain amount, then we can pay it directly out of the capital fund. If there's not, then it probably needs to be an operating fund, and then we can address each expense as it happens and then replenish it with capital. So it just depends on how you want to do it.
So what's your recommendation?
My recommendation is going to be if we're going to have a whole lot of expenses here and there, like 10,000 here, 50,000 here, then we probably need to do it out of operating and replenish it as it becomes a larger amount versus if we're going to go with like one contractor per se who says it's going to be $500,000, pay it in pieces, then we can just directly pay that from the capital. Does that make sense?
Brian?
Brian Kinsel, 708 Golf Park. I think you set a very dangerous precedent if you take the money directly out of capital. What you want to do is pay the operating expenses at the end of the calendar year. If you break even because you took 200,000, and I'm making a number up, then you've got an audit trail that we took 200,000 out of capital, so that when you start the next year's budget, you know you got to think like you're 200,000 in the hole. If you start taking money out of capital, your budget's going to become meaningless to people, or they're going to force you to account for every penny in there, which they could.
That's correct. Yep.
I got it now.
The accountants have spoken,
I guess.
so we should do it this
The
way.
banker has spoken.
So I just want to be clear. Okay.
So we're approving it.
Well, it makes sense now.
Okay, yes, thank you. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah. Ken? Mike?
Right.
Wasn't me, as a recommendation of the finance committee, and told that we do it this way.
Okay.
So
Mike and company, and Matt, and Andrew.
Dick.
Dick and other people.
Okay,
They're almost all here, by the way.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. The next one, motion to approve surface enhancements of East Village Playground by Exquisite Lawn Care in the amount of $37,285 from reserve funds. Do you have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Anybody? Second? I will.
I'll
Okay.
second.
I did.
Are you allowed to?
Yes. Yes. Everybody won.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah. Okay. Any discussion?
Is there any other way to go besides this $37,000?
Brian's here to speak to
Brian.
it, with it. Where are you? There he is.
Good.
So the problem, Brian and I met.
Come closer.
Don't be shy.
I am shy.
Instead of your black shirt, you just blend right into that black thing.
Yeah. So Brian and I met at the East Village Playground. The situation there is that the tree roots have become an issue, tripping.
Welcome to Celebration.
Yeah, but this one is in an area where kids are actively playing.
It's bad. It's normal.
So we met with a artificial turf contractor and talked about removing the turf that's there now. It looks like it's reusable and everything. Has to go back in the same place. There's no problem with that, except where they redid the fence recently, there is a 6 to 8 inch gap between the fence and the turf that is 6 inches deep. So very easily trap your foot in there or something like that. So the recommendation from the artificial turf contractor is to remove the existing, stump grind all the roots throughout there, replace the base layer, replace the soft cushiony layer, put the new turf back in that goes all the way to the fence, and then fill it with an antimicrobial EnviroFill. Then take the other half of the playground that's already mulch, and then just keep that part as mulch, because taking the turf all the way for the entire playground, I think was upwards of like $67,000. It's very expensive.
Are you taking the tree out?
2 trees we want to take out. Our arborist took a look at the trees, said, yes, we can stump grind this area. The next time we have a hurricane or any kind of storm, it's very likely these trees are coming over. It could land on the equipment, or just rip the turf back up, and then you're looking at more repairs. And this could be in less than a year if we had a hurricane again this year.
Are those the 2 trees inside the fence?
They are inside the fence. So along with this, as we're removing 2 trees, we recommend replacing 2 trees on the outside of the fence, because without these 2 trees in there, there's not going to be a lot of shade. There is no top shade structure on the playground. So,
So you could be using a different kind of tree because the roots could go under the fence into the playground.
we're looking at Japanese blueberry for the 2 trees there, and to let them grow natural, not to be manicured as a cone shape or a ball shape or anything like
And
that.
they have just a little root system.
They have a softer root system that if we were to need to cut the roots away from the fence, and we anticipate putting them like 10 feet away from the fence, and we don't know them to be as invasive as an oak tree with those strong roots that'll lift concrete and stuff like that. We haven't seen any problems with Japanese blueberry.
So once you remove the tree, there'll be no shade there at all.
Until we can get the new trees to grow up in those areas. But there is a backdrop of shade from the conservation that borders there, just it's going to be at different times of the day. And I believe is there a picnic table there?
Yes.
2 picnic tables. Is there an option to, in the future, add an umbrella or two if we needed to?
We could.
Yeah, like maybe one of those big umbrellas that's down like at Lakeside Pool.
Yep.
That big white umbrella that's in the ground.
Correct.
So that'll help.
Is that one of those that kind of like turn?
No, it doesn't do anything. It's just a big wide umbrella that's down at Lakeside so that the moms and the kids could have some kind of shade.
And that park is big enough that if a mom or anyone wants to bring the kids to the park, they could bring one of those small lightweight pop-up tents that you see all over the beaches.
Okay.
You know, you could throw that in a corner and
But that will,
have a picnic as
okay.
well.
So do we find out how much it can cost to get the umbrella or no?
No, I don't have any. idea.
That's something I would have
He's
to
not,
raise.
he doesn't do umbrellas.
All right, so we're just.
Brian will find you one.
Okay.
He'll take the one from Lakeside and put it over there.
Without sunscreen.
There you go. Okay. All right, so we have a motion by Bill and I second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody
Aye.
opposed? Okay. All right, the next one, motion to approve extending FX LLC contract in the amount of $13,000 as recommended by the Special Events Committee. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Just a question, if I'm reading it correctly, there you are. We're getting a substantial discount.
The discount, I have 2 other quotes that are higher priced than that company. That company is also, I've worked with them before, so.
I'm
Yeah.
fine with the discount. I'm just curious why we're getting a discount.
Connections.
Negotiating
Way to
skills.
go, way to go, Liz.
Negotiating.
Yay.
I asked her, actually, she originally quoted me 16,000 and she went down 3. So.
See, negotiating.
Looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun.
So this laser show is just the laser show. It doesn't involve the music.
The lasers will be on DJ mode, so they will
Okay.
play to
So
the
there'll be
beat
music.
of the band. Yeah.
I originally had some concerns about this because they have an addendum that says, could terrify animals and blah, 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 blah. And even though I figured it was just fluff and trying to make their show sound better, I just wanted to double check. That's why I moved it. But, okay, any more discussion? All right, all in favor?
Wait, can we let the residents know what this is for? We're approving $13,000
Founder's Day.
for Founder's Day.
It'd be an amazing show.
Okay, but it would be nice if the residents in the audience knew why we were approving it.
So just another question related to this. As we look at the entire Founder's Day, do we have an overall plan, an overall schedule of events and costs? I raise that because for 4 years, it's an off year. I mean, we just had the 25th, we had the 20th. Those are major expenses. And it's my sense that our overall expenses for Founder's Day do not need to be extreme. And so I'd be interested in what the anticipated overall costs are for the entire Founder's Day set of activities for 2023.
David, can you hear me?
Can you hear
Yes.
Liz, Dave? Okay.
So the laser show will be $13K plus the provisions of power, lift, security will be about 3 more thousand. And then we're looking at a band for entertainment. So that cost will be around 24K.
How much? What was that again? How many K?
No, a total of 24.
24.
Can we please table this because it doesn't happen until November?
Yeah,
Can we-
let's table it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that'll be. Thank you, Jim. I think that'll be helpful to get the bigger picture of the whole array of things. And I just asked for a 10-year run of our expenses, and I think that'll be helpful to share, to look at some history.
It's a lot of money for. Yeah, Lauren and I talked about this earlier because, and I know it's not your fault, it's just the way things go. I lose track when we approve things piecemeal, as you know, because you have to do like entertainment, you have to do that early and whatever. If
What do you think? Heck. Oh, well, we'll just have to, hopefully it will get posted or people will just.
Jennifer, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can.
Should I just back off?
There you go.
Each one. I'm gonna down to you.
No, I mean, can I just run the meeting from here?
Yeah, you can. You're already still connected. It's still.
All right, those of you online, can you hear us?
Yes.
You're gonna have to speak loudly, but yes, they can hear you.
Oh, okay. All right, I was told I have to speak loudly, so that's what I'm gonna do. Hopefully you can hear me. So the next item on the agenda is the Lot D project. Motion to approve apparent successful vendor for Lot D construction as recommended by the Kalick Group and Lot D project SNE Group, which is Subject Matter Expert Group, coming out of capital funds. Do I have a motion?
I'll second it. Boy,
Bill and Celia.
thought you could talk that fast.
I have some discussion.
Okay. So we have a board member that wants to discuss. Go ahead, Jim.
Thank you. Do I have to talk loud like you?
All right, now go.
Now we're locked back. Now you can go. Right?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
This is so sad. All I can say is really sad.
I have another reason. I spoke to, let's find his name, James Cash of Sports Court of CFL. And we talked, and that's what they specialize in, and they only do that. And we talked about the different surfaces, and the cheapest, lowest cost surface is asphalt. And that's what we have in this bid. And if you look at the line items of the $2 million bid, $169,000 is for the courts. Now, I don't know if there should be some other stuff added into that. You're probably much more acquainted with the details than I am. But that's the reason why I don't think we should commit to a vendor tonight. I think we should take it out to RFP again on a reduced scope and see what we get.
So that person that you went out for, they build pickleball courts, correct?
Yeah, they build all sorts of courts there in Winter Park. They have a showroom.
Do they do the stormwater and site prep that's gonna cost $250,000?
No, they don't.
And will they be leveling the field and
Yes.
leveling it to make a parking lot? Well, a paved, not a paved parking lot, a grass lot. Will they be able to do that also?
We did not get into that.
Well,
Or should I say counselor?
Counselor? I'm asking you a question.
I know.
I'm asking you a fair question. We hired this Calic group, and how much do we pay the Calic group, Lauren?
We paid $20,000.
Well, so that's KPMF. Kalik Group is a contract not to exceed, and I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but we've only paid Kalik Group $5,000.
Okay, so we paid them to go out and find the vendor for the RFP. And this is the two groups that were left. This is management. This is the, what group are they, the pickle?
The SME group.
So this was put into management's lap. We approved the Cal group. Does anybody think this is funny? I'm not sure.
I'm not laughing.
I know. So we approved the Cal group to do this because this is what they do. And all of a sudden now we have a lot of experts. I'm nothing against you personal, Jim, but
of course not.
I'm serious. It's $250,000 to do the work. And just as an off note, I listened to the presentation Cindy spoke in the beginning. I kind of think she left out Lot B. Why aren't we using Lot B again? Because that's all I hear about is why don't we put it on Lot B? It doesn't make a difference how much it costs. Let's just put it on Lot B. That's a lot of chitter chatter. So why aren't we doing Lot B?
It doesn't fit.
B as in boy?
It doesn't really fit, and there's also additional water retention issues. You'd have to add another water retention pond, is my
So this
recollection.
250, if we put it on Lot B, would be more than 250. So
But the main reason is it doesn't fit there.
Right, thank you. So that's why we're not using Lot B as in boy.
Okay.
And we hired the Calic group, we're paying this group to do this. They did the RFP, these are the two groups that came back. We could just keep getting groups and groups and groups forever. This project's been going on forever, I'm sorry. But this is something, and people could say negative things about me. I want a baseball field, and I still don't have a baseball field in Celebration for the kids to play baseball on. This is something that is going to enhance the value of our homes. There is nothing, whether you agree with me or not, I'm speaking. This will enhance the value of our homes. There is nothing, and Cindy said it in the beginning, there has not been one amenity put into this community that's new, and I'm not sure how many years. And yes, it would be so wonderful if we can have a community center for seniors and kids to go to after school, but this is something that's been on the scope for many years, and we finally got it down to be honest, when I saw that How many, Mike, how many emails did I send out over the weekend? A lot of emails. What do you mean? I don't believe this. What do you mean? And what we had to do is figure out ourselves. I only have a high school diploma. I'm not an engineer. I don't have a master's degree. I says, okay, let's just get it down to under $1 million and to try to save the community some money. By the end of 2023, this $1 million will be back in the bank. We have 300 apartment units coming on at Island Village. We have the rec fees from that. This has been going on and on. This is not a new project. This is not coming out of left field. We didn't know about it. This is finally coming to fruition, and we got it. $918,700. Will they be able to have lights? No. But they will have pickleball courts. We will have overflow parking for about 300 cars for our special events because we have no room at Lakeside anymore. And on weekends when there's all the soccer games and what else, those kids can use that lot as overflow play. So this isn't just for pickleball people. This is for a community that is outgrown Lakeside with 300 cars to park at. And this is for our community children to be able to play on this level field. Is it going to be the Christmas list that the pickleball people wanted? No, but we got it down and we're really trying to work hard to do the right thing for the community. This isn't about a group. This is about the value of our homes. If I want to sell my condo to somebody that's 50 and they say, what do you got in this community for me to do besides going in a pool? I'm going to say nothing. And it's not just for 50 and over. There are children that play the sport. So it's not a fad. It's not something we're pushing through before the new board comes on. This was supposed to be discussed last month, correct, Lauren?
Yes, it was.
At our last board meeting.
Yes.
We didn't do it at our last board meeting because there were some questions that needed to be answered by the contractor, and we did not want to proceed. Am I wrong or right?
No, you're 100% correct.
Thank you. So we're not pushing this through because we're trying to do something under the table that's not transparent. This is for the community in its entirety. We have a $900,000 dog park for the dogs. Up until last year, I didn't have a dog, but I'm paying for that dog park. I don't play soccer, but we're paying for $4.8 million soccer fields. So this isn't something that just happened overnight. Brian, you were right when you said, I'm going to take over pickleball, Celia, because they're going to make mincemeat out of you. So I'm going with this because we got it down from almost $2 million to under $1 million. And there's just like vendetta and malice in the community over something that's not hurting anybody. If I said, let's spend $1 million on a playground and put it down there, I'm sure everybody here would say, oh yeah, we want a playground. There's nothing for anybody in this community except the pools or tennis courts. That's it. So I don't have a problem with this.
Somebody just pulled me up.
Thank you.
Do you want the asphalt?
Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, excuse me, did someone say something?
I can answer the question about the asphalt.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, please. Would you mind commenting on that?
Not at all. David, 109 Play Street. Jim, that's a great question. The SME group that has been working on this project asked both about the opportunity for asphalt and concrete. And the the court building experts that we worked with, 90, and Steve, tell me the 2 or 3 others that we reached out to. Sport surfaces.
Well, that's who they're renewal month.
Yeah, and so the reason the asphalt was selected is because the concrete is more important up north where it gets colder.
Freeze-thaw cycle.
And say it again, Steve?
Freeze-thaw cycle.
The freeze-thaw cycle, all right? That's where concrete becomes more important. In our discussion with the court building experts, they thought we could save significant money with very low risk by going asphalt. And so that's the reason asphalt is in the bid.
Okay, yeah, when I talk to this guy, and obviously, you know, he runs a business, so he will be looking to try to get business. He said that asphalt has higher maintenance costs and is prone to more problems. He didn't recommend concrete, but concrete with some type of rubber coating, thick coating over it.
Yeah, no, I think, the acrylic, is it acrylic, Steve, that's getting, then the surface is covered with several layers of the acrylic?
Okay.
It's not, we're not playing on asphalt.
Okay.
But they do make like a spongy surface you can use. Well, that's much more expensive. That wasn't considered. It also gets damaged.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for
Service
that.
is also the subcontractor, the pole.
Right. Yeah, I saw that.
Well, and the other thing, you said that they'd level, but they probably are only thinking they have to level where the pickleball courts are.
Yeah, I didn't
But
have time to get it.
Well, I know,
you
but I
do
mean,
negotiation.
that's
I
why
wasn't
I
at liberty to do that. I just
I
wanted to get him
understand, but
additional
they-
information.
Yeah, but I mean, we're looking to have the whole thing level to make
Yeah.
more parking accessible and kids can plan it, yada, yada. Jerry, do you have a question?
I just wanted to make a statement. Because you're talking about the courts and Celia talked very passionately about pickleball. And I think
No, I'm not talking about pickleball.
you specifically talked extensively about pickleball.
Well,
just now.
this is,
Can I just finish what I was
yes,
going
go
to say?
ahead.
We're sitting here watching you with a back wall that's literally falling apart.
Not falling apart.
We can all see it.
There's curtains up. What can you see?
Ignore that, and you're innocent. Continue with my question.
That's not ignorant. You've got to-
Celia, the question here isn't pickleball. I don't think anyone in Celebration is against pickleball. People are against spending money when the building needs repaired and there are other expenses and there's a $430,000 deficit. That's what this is about.
First, there is no
let me just-
430,000 deficit.
Exactly.
It was already in last year's budget. It's zeroed out at the end of the fiscal year. There's no obligation coming into
Making it
2020.
sound like we're in the red and we're not.
No.
Brian said that there were 2 years where we didn't spend the money in our budget because we couldn't do anything. Well, actually, that excess that we spent last year should have been spent the 2 years before. So we're no worse off than we were before. And we are going to have, if our projections are correct with this budget, $1.1 million coming in from assessments and capital funds and the rec fees. So that will pay for it in itself, in addition to the other things that are going on. So we're not, we've got plenty of money. Go ahead, Bill.
No,
We've
we've got plenty of money.
Yeah, we're not money poor or pickleball poor or whatever you want to call it. We've got the money.
I don't, while I respect, Bill, I respect your experience in this, I would feel better to have very solid numbers as to the repair of 851 before we make a decision even on a vendor. That's me personally.
And Jared, to you, I appreciate you speaking out 100%, but my passion is baseball, and I really want a baseball field in Celebration.
And I have
But
no
we've
opposition
never
to that.
gotten one. And anything that just brings the value up in our house, it's just an important thing for our community.
Alec Raz has a comment.
Baseball's so
Online?
20th century.
Oh, I could just see the hand. Hi, Alex, come on up.
Come on up.
Oh, speaking of baseball,
Well, you gave me a nice segue.
Okay, no more wearing black shirts here because you can't see you.
Alec Rouse, 952 Starling. I have a couple questions for you about the pickleball and the groups that you're using. And then I'm also the president for Celebration Little League, so I have some
see
comments
Saturday.
on that. What's-
See you Saturday.
Yes. Opening day for Celebration Little League. All those who want to come out. You said you mentioned Khalid Group you paid $5,000 to. What's their scope?
So they're the owner's rep. KPMF provided the engineering, architectural drawings and scope based on the original plans from the pickleball SME group / WAD SME group. Kalik Group took those plans from KPMF, turned them into an RFP for construction bidders, and through the process, if we decide to continue the process and actually build pickleball courts, they will monitor the project, make sure things are done correctly, the build is done correctly. And thanks to Amy, the contract with Caleb Group is not to exceed $33,000.
Okay. I'm very familiar with Clique and with Foley and Faden, so all the vendors you had just from working with Disney. So available help wherever you need that. As far as your comment about baseball and the baseball field, you know, I know that we've focused on pickleball, but there are other needs in the community. And so I'm not sure why we don't look at maybe a larger second athletic complex. And
Where?
Where?
right. So how do we work with the county, right, and understand what options we have? I know this where there's plots.
In Celebration?
On Celebration Boulevard.
No.
Right.
Not to buy.
No. The Celebration Hall group last summer did a really, really good intensive report of every parcel in town, parcels I didn't realize were parcels, and they address everything up the boulevard, which is how we know that we can't really do much with parcel B because it's bigger than 7/10 of an acre.
Yeah.
But when you take out the easements, the water requirements and stuff, buildable 7/10 of an acre. But there's a story behind every parcel that makes them either encumbered by Disney's plans for that site, or it's way too wet, like the big plot of land down by the stoplight when you come into town.
Yeah.
2/3 of it's not just moist, it's underwater.
Right.
So you back out that and.
Well, it's more expensive, but you can make that.
That's
But-
the light at Georgetown going into North Village, correct?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we own that, we own that, and there's absolutely nothing we can do with it.
That's not gonna cost a fortune.
That's
Because
not
if
gonna
you
Right.
built a building there, then it would have to be an iconic building, which would drive up the cost
Yeah, no, I
exponentially.
understand.
Yeah.
You know, I understand how that works, right? But you know, what other partnerships are? I know the soccer fields were a partnership, right? And so how do you look at that from fundraising from some of these groups, not just all money coming from CROA?
But somebody, and this is a little this is kind of like a right turn here, but somebody sent it to me, this list of county parks. There are none here, so we've been paying the county for parks,
Exactly.
which are built other parts of the county.
I think Greg was at the CBD.
Was it Greg?
Greg
Okay.
Field.
Right, so while some of these areas are very expensive to build on, right, then where's the county and going to the county commission to discuss that?
That's why
and
we have
advocate for that?
$4.8 million athletic fields, because the county pulled out and reneged on giving us the money for them. So the county's not
I just,
there.
you know, if there's opportunities to reinitiate some of those conversations, negotiations, right? You're right, there are no parks here on this side of town. So, you know, how do we look at maybe that second?
And the county and the school district don't pay to maintain any of their sports fields in
Right.
any of
And
the
that's-
schools. We do for the kids.
And that's some of my advocacy here is, right, we know that the 2 baseball fields that are in town are owned by the school district that we maintain, that are under contract for a limited time. And so we're going to be stuck in a couple of years where we've got to look at options and what that looks like for us.
Alan, I'm sorry, since it is almost 8:30, do you mind if we take one more thing? Is there somebody who wants to talk that hasn't
Dick's been
talked
wanting
yet?
to talk all night.
Okay. Yeah. You haven't talked all night. You win. Come on.
I saw you somewhere else today.
Dick Larson, 1112 Mosaic Drive, owner since 2005. So thanks for the opportunity. I thought I would just take really a minute because I know it's late and just reiterate my takeaways from the meeting today. I also read all the Facebooks today, as Cindy did. Listen to the conversation here, and to me, there's basically 3 takeaways for me. First, does pickleball add value to homeowners in Celebration? That's one of the primary fiduciary responsibilities of a homeowners association. I don't think there's any question of that. Very popular, rapidly growing. It was growing 10 years ago when we started this discussion. It's growing even faster now. It appeals to all ages. I've played kids that high and all adults that high. It's a no-brainer. We're in a competitive marketplace. Most other communities like this will provide pickleball facilities. It really is a disadvantage to us and our values if we don't do that. Second takeaway is, can we really afford to do this? We know we have to fix 851. We'd like to expand that, I think, at some point. Does moving forward on a path towards pickleball stop us from doing that? And I think the answer to that is a resounding no. I thought page 150 of the handout explained that pretty well. In our capital fund, which would fund most of this, that would be $3.8 million by the end of the year. It grows by almost $1 million every year. We have $3 million in reserves, some of which could go towards the 851 building as appropriate. We have a couple $1 million in operating funds to provide some cushion should we run into budget issues during the year. There's really no numbers, financial reason why we couldn't go ahead with pickleball on the path that we're going on and take care of 851 repairs. And if in a couple of years we want to renovate and expand 851, we could do that too. And then finally, do we need to move forward on this path now? Should we wait another year after another year after another year? I kid with folks, pickleball is always a year away because we keep going through the same motions time after time. We're in the analysis paralysis mode. There've been workshops. This has been discussed for a decade, heavily for 4 years. It really is time to keep moving forward, not to regenerate the same kind of stuff that we've done so far. It adds value. We can afford to do it. And we've discussed this long enough. I think it's time to move on.
Thank you.
Actually, I wrote.
Cindy,
just
can you
said-
hear me?
David, you want to say something?
Yeah, just those last comments were exactly what I wanted to say. But I want to step back a moment. This has been, as you said at the beginning, long-term in the making. The 851 problems have been long-term in the making, but we did not know them until what happened this fall. I see two parallel tracks, both of which can happen now, and each of which I believe would be phased. We move forward with pickleball. To me, it's the right thing to do. It's a prudent thing to do. It's progressive to do. And if we don't do it, we are not as a community with the times. If we do not move forward now with pickleball, I believe it will not happen in Celebration, and that would be a travesty. But I believe in moving with phases with pickleball. You do a basic, you have the lot, you have the facility, but then lights and other parking come later. Same with 851. When we know the scope of the damage and what a repair to bring it back to functionality will be, that will be one thing. Then the enhancements, frankly, when we get into community discussions, as we started to have with Celebration Hall discussions over the last year, what does the community center look like? We started those discussions 5 years ago, or more, at least in my time, 5 years, what a community center would look like. So what might be the enhancements? Bill talked about to build onto the back, or Kathy talked about that to the side, or Debbie to the sides. So those are going to be long. Those are going to be several years in the making for us to conceptualize as a community, and then the leadership, and then get various architectural drawings and then bids. The basic fix for each of these moving forward. Yes, we have the money to do both today with today's money and no infusion in the future, but we know that infusion's roughly $1 million or so a year is it. So again, phases, but we have two paths, and I think it is prudent, it is appropriate to move forward, at least on this one tonight.
Thanks, Dave.
So where are we?
Well, Bill, hold it, Bill. Jim wants to say one more thing.
I still have a few things to say.
Oh,
Celia, I completely agree with you about less than $1 million. I made the same point with another board member this week. I have voted for pickleball to move forward all along the way as a board member. I believe it does add value to this community. I believe it does make us more competitive as a community. But I frankly was shocked at the numbers that came back. When I was moving along in those discussions, I was working with the number of around 750,000 to $1 million. And that's for everything, not just the pickleball courts, because remember, basically, there was pushback on just building pickleball courts. So we did, as Celia said, this is not a pickleball expense. This is a Lot D expense. A majority of this expense is because Lot D is not usable as is. We all know that, right? So there's a buy-in for this. But I did get sticker shock when I saw these numbers last Friday.
How many emails did I send out complaining about the sticker shock?
I'm saying we're on the same page with that, absolutely. And I want to support it, and I want it to go through. I just have a lot of concern about the unknowns of 851, and also I think there may be potential for synergies when we do the repairs to do some additional things to here. So I do not want to kill pickleball. I want us to have pickleball in this community. I do. I just don't want to choose a vendor tonight.
All right. Can we call the question, finally?
Of course you can.
Okay. We have a motion on the table. Okay, so we had a motion from Bill and Celia. Bill and Celia? You say so.
Can you restate the motion, because it was dead on my end at the beginning?
Okay. All right. Motion to approve apparent successful vendor for Lot D construction as recommended by the Kayla Group and Lot D project SME Group CROA Capital Funds. Motion was made by Bill, seconded by Celia. We had discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
I am opposed for the reasons previously stated.
Gotcha. Okay. Motion passes. Now, that has brought us through our regular agenda. We have several discussion items, but we decided that the important ones are the management update, that would be Lauren, and also landscaping, and then we call it a night. Lauren, take her away.
So I'll just, on a real short matter, we just got access to the Island Village Amenity Center today.
When were we supposed to get access?
February 1st.
Thank you.
Do the residents in the audience that live in Island Village hear this? What? Jim, come up here. Mr. Graham, I'm sorry. I want you to be able to hear this.
So we just got.
After you try to beat us up and not give us the stuff until you had enough money, now you've been forced to do it, right?
That's why I want you up here so you can hear.
Okay. So we were supposed to receive access to the amenity center on February 1st. That did not happen because of some issues on Mattamy and streetlights and Cortland's end. We're not sure what the major issues were, but kind of neither here nor there at this point. We received access today. We viewed it with our critical team members. We received the as-built documents and everything we need to know how to run and manage the building. We have some items that need to be addressed around the pool for safety issues. We have some security camera installs that need to be done. The key card system will be set up and running, and Wi-Fi set up out there. We already have the pool permit. The utilities will be moved into CROA's name. We have a temporary plan in place to open the amenity center still March 1st for residents. So the gym will be open and the pool will be open for residential use. The gym 24/7, the pool is the same hours as every other pool in Celebration. We will have staff members out there during the day, and we will have a staff member out there at night during his normal working hours to limit the need for contracted security out there. And so we have staff eyes out there to see the usage of the amenity center and any potential problems that happen at night until we can get the security system up and running with the people detection and the voice command that they set up at Artisan Park.
And the clubhouse is locked.
The clubhouse will remain locked and open only for reservations. I don't know if that'll change in the future, but that'll be up to the board. It's a very nicely appointed amenity center with a little kitchenette and some TVs in there. So it's a really nice space, especially for small events. We will be doing a pop-up event out there for around the first day of spring to kind of formally open the building and the amenity center for the community. Liz will be announcing that when we finalize some details. So there will be a special event out there for the community. Hello?
Will that be permanent staffing or is it just while it's opening?
Right now, as it's opening, the plan is for it to be a temporary staffing at the levels that we're doing now. The recommendation may change depending on what the usage levels are out there, what issues we have in the evenings and in off hours. So we want to gather the information, but we want to get it open as soon as possible for the residents to meet
I
their
appreciate
needs.
that. Is there any talk about doing the same thing at Lakeside or at Spring Park Pool?
Permanent staffing there?
Well, something to regulate usage because as we all know, there are problems at both facilities.
So we don't have the bodies to keep people there permanently. I mean, that would be great to be able to do that.
We used to have an aquatics budget.
Yeah, it's just not in our existing personnel.
Okay, thank you.
Question, yes?
Brand, 15.
I know you. Oh, hi.
Can you come up to the podium?
Yeah, come up here, Brad.
Or else the people online won't be able to hear you as well.
And see you.
Hello, so at the last board meeting, when we discussed the 24/7 access of the gym, I remember that was, some big questions. We had the multifamily developer that spoke.
Streetlights, yeah.
And I think I heard him say that the 24/7 access was only for the apartment residents. Did we confirm that?
We confirmed that that's not true. I spoke to him directly about that and other people have confirmed it as well. But I did think the same thing when I heard him speak.
So based on the agreement between Streetlights and Cortland, which is the management company of the apartment complex, and TCC, the agreement would only require CROA to open it to apartment complex dwellers for 24/7 access. It does not seem equitable for us to do that from a management perspective.
Right.
So our recommendation is to open it to all Celebration residents 24/7. Thank you. Okay. Valerie, is that all you got, Lauren? That's the most important piece, yes. Okay. All right, landscaping. So we've been having some issues in our landscaping department, similar to what we experienced last year with Yellowstone. We've seen some drops in service despite continued conversations, contact. And I think the board's seen that as well in those particular parks. So we would like to propose, we've also seen some billing variances from a particular entity that we'll share with the board and the community when we have it all finalized.
Is this the entity that was acquired by another
Yes.
entity during the year? Thank you.
So the recommendation from management is this time is to issue an RFP for those parks impacted and see if we can get a similar or better bid and possibly better service provided.
So is this park one of them?
Yes, it is.
So when they send us a bill, do they send us a bill because they're mowing grass or mowing dirt?
They send us a monthly bill for maintenance of that park.
Because there's an awful lot of dirt out there.
That's one of our issues.
And that's what we're trying to do, protect the community. Lot D, spending money we're trying to protect our community and what we own. Well, we don't own the school lots, but we pay to maintain them, and we're trying to make sure that our vendors do what they're supposed to do, cut grass and not dirt.
And just to be clear, we have two vendors and this is a problem with one of them.
Correct.
Okay.
The other one that handles the parks is highly responsive. And if there are deficiencies that we note, he is quick to respond and address them. He's also quick to respond when we have off-hour emergencies, and actually just helped us last weekend with an emergency in an area that wasn't even his.
Do we need to vote on something?
Can I just,
Ready to go forward?
can I just say one thing? Even though, if, I don't know who's in touch with the school, and I'll repeat it again. The drain on the corner of Starling and Celebration Avenue, I must walk that path for the past 6 years. That ground is sinking. That drain used to be level with the rest. If anybody wants to go out, and look for themselves, that drain, Alec, you might want to look on Saturday where the batting cages are, or the batting nets, is sinking. It used to be level with the whole entire area because I was one of those residents that tormented the board constantly to put grates on those drains because it was so easy for a toddler to fall into the drain. So I see that every day, and I have the vision of what it used to look like, and that whole area is sinking. So, who said that?
I did.
Thank you. It
I
is.
walk by it every day.
Every day, it's sinking.
And it is sinking.
Thank you. So, Laura, do you need a motion from us in order to do?
I wanted to keep you in the loop. I wanted any input that if you had any objections to the issuance of the RFP, it will also equate to essentially a notification to that company that we are looking to terminate their contract.
Gotcha. Good plan. Thank you. Anything else?
Not this urgent.
Good. Okay.
I was the one who put Eon at the request of Greg. I still do want to talk about that, but let's table it.
You want to wait till the new board comes in?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Okay, let's do that. Okay, so we are done for tonight. Thank you all for being so patient. It is 8:45. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
This is our last board meeting as, no, we have one on March 1st.
As this board.
That's
the annual.
This is our last board member meeting with the five of us. Maybe the five of us will be here next week. I'm just saying. Well, you're the one that, I remember Brian did that last year. But I think we worked really well, the five of us together, the past couple of months. And I think that we really do, Jim. Do you think?
Yeah.
We've come a long way.
Nicely said, Celia, nicely said.
Adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.
Aye.
Good night. Now, who can get second?
I got Jill and Celia.
Yep.
Okay, Bill.
Yeah.
you.